The Muslim Brotherhood, even if you hear naturally so much in recent years, I guess for young viewers, they might not even have heard about the Muslim Brotherhood. They will have heard about ISIS, about Al-Qaeda, but the Muslim Brotherhood flies a little bit below the radar. But at the same time, it is the oldest and the original Islamist organization, founded in 1928 by Hassan al-Banna in Cairo, in Egypt, and later spread to large parts of the Arab world. They have historically had maybe a less militant approach than some of these other Islamist organizations that have more focused on using terrorism as a method of gaining power. The Muslim Brotherhood has been more focused on trying to capture state institutions and take over countries, but nevertheless, in some circumstances, they have also been willing to use militant methods. So it is from this route that Hamas comes, and they have been even more militant, naturally, than the Muslim Brotherhood. So they have received weapons from Iran. They have much better rocketry than they had 10 or 15 years ago. They are very well armed when it comes to rocket-propelled grenades, for example, so-called RPGs, or automatic rifles, mortars, and so on. But naturally, not being a state actor, having your border shut from Egypt as well, with the border crossing.
And this, of course, is quite surprising, isn't it? That you would expect the Muslim nations to stand together. And Egypt is, in fact, not opening the border. And this, I think, goes to the history of the problem, is that it has suited many people that the Palestinians have sort of become a hostage to fortune, and nobody's actually really committed to doing much about it. And an irony of ironies, the one country which has probably done more for the Palestinian welfare, although by no means perfect, has been Israel, of course, because the other Muslim countries have sort of said nice words, and Jordan has taken large numbers of refugees, but they haven't really been very effective, because it should be very easy, in fact, to sit down the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia and other interested countries and actually get your map out, and as the British and the French used to do in the same region in the 1920s, draw some lines and say that is it, and yet that hasn't happened. And we see it, and because history is such an interesting subject, we see it today when we have in Europe, we're faced by this huge number of largely Muslim migrants crossing countries to get to other countries, and yet bypassing very wealthy, similarly Muslim countries, particularly in the Gulf, and they don't help. Saudi will say, no, we're not taking your refugees in, but or the migrants, but what we will do is we will build you another mosque in France or the United Kingdom or wherever it is.
Absolutely. When it comes to Saudi Arabia, especially, it should be remembered that they have a very built-out infrastructure for accepting large masses of people, due to the fact that they have Mecca in their country. And for the Hajj, the holy pilgrimage, you have more than 1 million of people that show up from the Muslim world and stay there for a week or two. So they have various facilities. They have these tent cities, which could technically take in some of these refugees, but that is clearly not the case. When it comes to the situation for the Palestinians that you mentioned, it's again somewhat of a comparison here with Poland. It's by no means the same situation. This is not at all what I'm saying, but if we look at it from the perspective of Hamas here, which is the political leader of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Naturally, in the West Bank, you have Fatah ruling, so over there it's a separate issue. But within Gaza, since 2006, when they threw Fatah out of Gaza, they have been ruling in the Gaza Strip. And if they look at the relations with other countries, and they see Israel's relations with other countries in the Arab world, they see that they are increasingly isolated. You had the Abraham Accords that were signed in 2021. You have this normalization of more and more Arab countries in the region that are willing to either resume diplomatic relations with Israel, or for the first time initiate diplomatic relations with Israel. You had a couple of states in North Africa that have joined, a couple in the Gulf, but naturally the big prize would be Saudi Arabia, and this were where things were moving towards when this war started with this surprise attack by Hamas.
Adam, alas, the clock in the corner of the studio is flashing at me that time is up, so if we may ask you to pause there and we'll pick up the story next time. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll continue the story. In the meantime, thank you for watching Poland Daily History.